approves uncontested applications. For all applications, the board reserves the right to ask questions of the staff, applicant, or others in attendance prior to rendering a decision. If, however, the city recommends against the application, or if there is opposition to the application, we treat the application as contested and hear from the applicant and anyone else who is in favor of the application. Next, we hear from anyone opposed, followed by a short rebuttal from the applicant. We then close the public hearing portion of the meeting for that particular application and open discussion to the Board of Zoning Appeals members only. We will then make a decision to approve with conditions, or deny the application. The Board of Zoning Appeals zoning has the authority to do three things. Number one, hear appeals to the decisions of the zoning administrator. Number two, grant special exceptions, a fact-finding function of the board. And number three, grant variances to the zoning ordinance if the application meets the hardship test outlined in section 54-924 of the ordinance. The board may deliberate and make a final decision on a matter by a majority vote of members present at the hearing and qualified to vote, provided that not less than a quorum is present and qualified to vote. However, an affirmative vote of 2/3 of the board members present and voting shall be required before a use variance may be granted. For a variance to be granted, the Board of Zoning Appeals must make the following findings. A, that there are extraordinary and exceptional conditions pertaining to the particular piece of property. B, these conditions do not generally apply to other property in the vicinity. C, because of these conditions, the application of the ordinance to the particular piece of property would effectively prohibit or unreasonably restrict the utilization of the property. And D, the authorization of a variance will not be of substantial detriment to adjacent property or to the public good, and the character of the district will not be harmed by the granting of the variance. I'm required by our city's ordinance to ask that you swear to tell the truth. If you do intend to testify, so if you do intend to testify or speak tonight at all, please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? You'll signify by saying, I do.
I do.
Thank you. We do have several deferrals on our agenda this evening, and so I'll run through those quickly. Item new applications, item B3 for 21 Reed Street is deferred. Item B6 for 41 Woodall Court is deferred. And number 9, B9 for Henrietta Street is also deferred. So if you're here for one of those applications, 21 Reed Street or 41 Woodall Court or 4 Henrietta, we won't be hearing those, and so you can be excused. If you have something else, we'll get going. We'll first start on our agenda A, minutes. 1, reviewed minutes of the July 15, 2025 board meeting. Draft meeting minutes, board members, have been circulated to you in your packet of materials for this meeting. Do I have a motion? I move you approve. Mr. McKay got it in. Mr. Bennett, you want to second that? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None are opposed. We have a couple folks that abstained, Mr. Goodwin and Mr. Huey, both abstained as they were absent from the last meeting. So the agenda minutes are approved for the July 15, 2025 board meeting. The next item on our agenda, B, new applications. Number 1, 28 Stocker Drive, Old Windermere, Council District 11. PMS number 421-06-00-121, zoned SR2, requesting a special exception under section 54-110.F to vertically extend a non-conforming east side setback of 3 feet and 1 inch, 9 feet are required, and a rear setback of 3 feet 5 inches, 25 feet are required for an accessory building. The owners are John and Caroline Gorin. The applicant is Reggie Gibson Architects, Henry Lee. Mr. Summerfield.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board. So this is on Stocker Drive here. You can see just a little south of Savannah Highway. Stocker kind of meanders through the Old Windermere neighborhood. You can see here on the aerial the property, and you can see the existing accessory structure in the rear yard. You can see here the survey of the property again. You have the main home, you have the accessory structure to the rear, an accessory structure has a covered porch. I think that the applicant has identified it currently as a storage area and is obviously accessible through the front of the property. So what they're proposing to do would be to completely take off the porch and essentially redo this existing garage so that there is a new storage room. They're still calling it a porch, but I think it's just unconditioned space for storage. And then they would be proposing to build a second story on top of the garage that would allow for, and again, this is saying accessory dwelling. It's not an accessory dwelling, it's an accessory structure. This does not have a kitchen. It doesn't qualify as an accessory dwelling unit. That is not what they've submitted for. So just so that there's no confusion with regard to the way the applicant's design professionals labeled this drawing. But as you can see on the second floor, they would create this additional living space where they would have a sink and a bathroom, and then they'd have some living space. You can see on the elevations that it is a two-story home, so they can have a two-story accessory structure. And this the application talks about being here for the size. Again, what they're here for tonight is actually the special exception to allow the setback provisions due to the non-conforming status of the existing garage and essentially building above that. Technically, their floor or their footprint will get a little smaller because they actually will not use the full width of the current storage area. They actually will skinny that up a little bit in the proposal. So that is their request. Again, nothing here is exacerbating any condition. We did not hear any concerns from any neighborhood groups or neighbors related to this project. And that said, we also did not receive any letters of support, but absent some other issue, again, particularly given its special exception, staff is in support of the request.
Okay, so they're looking to raise the height of a non-conforming accessory building structure. In essence. Okay. All right, do we have anybody here who's in opposition to the application for 28 Stocker Drive? Anybody here in opposition? Speak against? No? Okay. Do we have the owner or applicant here? Mr. Gibson here?
I'm Will Wingfield. I work with Reggie Gibson.
Okay, Will, anything you'd like to? Okay, great. All right, does anybody have any questions for the applicant? Any discussion on the board members? Any questions for the city? All right, do we have a motion?
I'll move approval.
All right, Mr. Bennett moves to approve. Is there a second? Grass seconds the motion. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None are opposed. The motion passes. And the special exception for 28 Stocker Drive is granted. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, the next item on our agenda, B2, 134 Donovan Avenue, Wagner Terrace, Council District 6, TMS number 463-14-01-037, zoned SR2, requesting a special exception under section 54-110F to vertically extend a non-conforming east side setback of 2 feet 3 inches, 9 feet are required for a second story rear addition. The owner is William Taylor. The applicant is Coastal Creek Design, Joel Adrian. Mr. Summerfield.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, so you can see the property here on Donovan Avenue, just a little east of. I can't even read my own screen. Wagner Avenue?
Wagner Avenue.
Yeah, I hate these labels. Anyway, so you can see the house and how it currently sits on the property. The proposal is, as mentioned, is to create a second story addition on this home. Can see the existing lot coverage doesn't change. They are adding, again, square footage for this new second story. The special exception is because part of the second story will encroach. Let me put my magnifying glass. Will follow the existing wall line, which is encroaching into the setback that's been established for this area. Again, it's not a new encroachment. It's continuing the existing encroachment. You can see on the floor plans, this is an existing one-story home. They are proposing to reconfigure the ground floor and then propose this small second floor addition. You can see here on the elevations. They have done this in working, I think, with the neighborhood association, working with, if not the BAR, with the BAR principals, because this would be demo only. So again, keeping this addition behind the ridge line of the existing home, not only behind the ridge line, but actually below the ridge line, which is not necessarily something we always see with these requests for some of these modifications in Wagner Terrace. So again, this is a special exception. They're not requesting anything extraordinary. They're following the existing established setback on that side. So staff is recommending approval.
All right, thank you, Robert. Anybody here in opposition to the application for 134 Dunham Avenue? I here to speak in opposition. Seeing no one in opposition, do we have the owner or applicant here? All right, anything you'd like to say to the board? All right, we have any questions for the owner applicant or any questions for the city? Any discussion? All right, do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion for approval.
All right, Mr. McKay moves to approve. Is there a second? Mr. Goodwin seconds the motion. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None are opposed. The motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, my apologies. I hate to do this, but I do need to put a condition on here. The applicant is, he was not available so that we could get a hold of him. They need to pay fees related to this application. So my request would be approval subject to the condition that all BZA-Z fees be paid prior to permitting.
Okay. I need a motion to amend the prior motion to include the condition that fees be paid prior to final approval.
I'll make a motion to amend.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, Mr. McKay has moved to amend the motion. Mr. Bennett seconded the motion. This is a motion to amend to include the condition that the applicant owner must pay fees before the approval is granted. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None are opposed. The motion passes. The motion is now amended to include the condition. And so we'll have another vote on the motion. We can still, the motion has been amended and we still need to vote on it. But for the record, the original movement is Mr. McKay. Mr. Goodwin seconded the motion. So we'll just vote on that one, which is the motion to approve with the amendment regarding the payment of the fees. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None are opposed. The motion passes and the condition is added to the approval. All right, the next item on our agenda, we're skipping over B3. B3 is 21 Reed Street. We're going to move on to the next one because that's deferred. So we're now at B4, which is 1006 Ashley Avenue, Wagner Terrace, Council District 6, TMS number 463-08-01-108, zoned SR2, requesting a variance from section 54-301 to build a second-story rear addition and screen porch with a south side setback of 8 feet, 9 feet are required. The owner applicant is Daniel Mullins. Mr. Summerfield.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board. So this is again another property in Wagner Terrace with a request to add the second story addition and further basically relocate their existing screen porch. Their screen porch was actually approved as a result of previous Board of Zoning Appeals zoning action in, I think it was 22. The property is here. You can see it's essentially mid-block on Ashley Avenue. I, be honest, don't know what the cross street is. You can see in the aerial kind kind of how the house sits on the lot. There is a water oak, I believe, that sits on the neighboring property, but has a pretty decent canopy that actually encroaches into this property owner's yard. It is pretty much the same request for area as what the board had previously seen when they approved the screen porch. You can see the screen porch to the side of the property here in these pictures in the lower right-hand corner. So you can see the screen porch was approved on this side, the south side, to encroach at the 8-foot mark. Here you can see the back side of that. So under their proposed addition, they would be basically building out the area where the current screen porch is, going up to a second floor in that area, and then they'd be relocating and putting their porch in the back yard. The porch in the backyard code provides some allowances for elements of that porch to encroach within setbacks. So not as big of a thing. Unfortunately, because of the fact that they are now enclosing that screen porch, making that living space, and then adding a floor above it, that's why they have to come back here and get approval for this variance to allow for this addition, which would again encroach to that 8 feet mark. Again, this addition would provide them the ability to put in a den on that ground floor, and then some bedroom and loft space on the second floor to accommodate their growing family. And again, because this is, yes, it's a variance, there is some existing conditions on the site. Again, this is Wagner Terrace, so they're trying to, again, minimize the historic material impacts. So they are building towards the back. It's within the existing footprint of the building, so it's not like they're adding a new footprint. Staff is recommending support. The applicants have received, and you should see this in your public comment packet, I believe we received 6 letters of support for this request, as well as a petition from at least half of the Wagner Terrace neighborhood, it seems like. Thanks to Matt, he mapped that out. So they do have support from all of the immediate neighbors, as well as several houses deep on either side of them, as well as across the street.
All right, thank you, Robert. Do we have anybody here in opposition to the application for 1006 Ashley? Anybody in opposition? Seeing no one in opposition, do we have the owner applicant here? Yes, sir. Anything you'd like to say to the board?
No, just appreciate you guys' time.
Thank you. Any questions for the owner? Any questions for the city? Any discussion? Do I have a motion? Ms. Grass looks like she wants to make a motion. Okay. Ms. Grass makes the motion to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Hewitt seconds the motion. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None are opposed. The motion passes by unanimous decision, and the variance for 1006 Ashley Avenue is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. The next item on our agenda, B5, 91.5 Nassau Street, East Side, Council District 4, TMS number 459-05-03-053, Zone DR2F, requesting a variance from Section 54-301 to build a second residential building with a 3-foot, 2-inch south side setback. 7 feet are required. The owner is Star Gospel Mission. The applicant is Coastal Creek Design, Joel Adrian. Mr. Summerfield.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, so this is property on Nassau, just south of Line Street, as you can see here in the zoning map. It's important to note that this property, the neighboring property 89 Nassau, as well as the property just south of that, 474 Nassau, all of this are actually, I think that's technically addressed out to Meeting Street, But all of these properties are owned by Star Gospel Mission. They are all intended to be a part, and I'll show you in a minute, a part of a upgraded mission campus that they are working on. They're working very closely with the city related to this, as well as some community partners. So this is their phase one, which would be to upgrade this property to be able to better address some community needs, specifically community needs around providing assistance to women and families. Currently, their mission addresses housing related to single men. But as they're expanding their mission, they are looking for opportunities to provide some resources for women and families. And so this would be a part of that mission. You can see the property here. Again, this is a setback variance for the setback between their properties, and that would be a part of their overall development. They're not at a stage where they can start dissolving lot lines though, so that's why they need to do this. Ultimately, they have talked about unifying the whole campus under one TSM number, one parcel. However, they're not yet in a position to be able to do that as they continue to work on their fundraising campaign and their development phasing. So you can see here in this drawing, the area that is highlighted in red is the area of encroachment. And again, this neighboring property is their property. You can see some aerials, see the floor plan, how the new home will be laid out. Some concepts, again, following along with the existing house on the property and maintaining that Charleston single aesthetic that we have along Nassau Street in this area on the property already, as well as in just this area period. And again, you can kind of see that reflected here in the kind of the street view. And then here's that image that I was talking about where they're, working on creating a unified campus. You have the existing Nassau location. They would be doing a unified access drive with, again, unified parking. So, because one of the questions that came up was parking. Again, they own this lot, they own the neighboring lot. The neighboring lot can accommodate parking. So we can approve off-site parking for this proposal without requiring any additional BZA-Z action, which is part of the reason why I wanted to have this exhibit, but also so that the board and the public could see that this is a unified approach, but because of the nature of philanthropy and nonprofit work, particularly at this scale, it happens in phases. It generally doesn't happen all at once. And especially when you're working with existing properties that are being combined like this is, it just will take time. So with all of that, staff is recommending approval of this variance for the side setback. We did get one email from Ms. Grant at the Eastside Community Development Corporation, just letting us know that they had not received any presentation on this item. There was no indication on whether or not they objected to the request or not, just that they had not received any additional information related to this item. And with that, like I said, staff is recommending approval of this request.
Okay, thank you, Robert. Anybody here to oppose the application for 91.5 Nassau Street? No one is here in opposition. Do we have the owner or applicant here? Yes, sir. Anything you'd like to say to the board?
No, just ready for any question you might have.
Okay, thank you. Anybody have any questions for the applicant? Any questions for the city?
Question, and just a point of contact with the association who says that will ongoing conversations happen since they've said,
Yes, yeah, we will make sure that happens.
seems like a good project, but it seems like everybody needs to
communicate.
communicate.
I agree with that.
And we reached out to the overall project team as well to communicate that request.
Okay, further discussion? Is there a motion?
I'll move approval.
All right, Mr. Bennett moves to approve. Is there a second? All right, Ms. Grass seconds the motion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed. The motion passes and the variance for 91.5 Nassau Street is approved. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
All right, the next item on our agenda is B6. It's been deferred from Woodall Court. Now we're on to B7, which is 69 Washington Street, Peninsula Council District 8, TMS number 459-13-04-003, zoned GB, requesting a special exception under section 54-110F to vertically extend a non-conforming residential structure with a north side setback of 1 foot 7 inches and rear setback of 1 foot 5 inches, 3 feet and 3 feet are required, and requesting variances from section 54-301 to allow non-conforming accessory dwelling unit to have a 26 foot, 5.5 inch front setback, 27 feet, 10 inches are existing, 70 feet are required, and to allow an increase in lot occupancy, 63% existing, 66% proposed, 50% allowed. The owner is Patrick Flynn. The applicant is Cobb Architects LLC. Summerfield.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, so this property is located at the corner of Charlotte and Washington Street, as you can see here. This is a GB zone, a little different than most of your requests that you get. While it is a GB zone, this is a residential structure. So it does have some setback requirements that if it were a purely commercial situation, it would not. You can see the aerial here, see that this is a Charleston single in a very dense cluster of residential, including residential that also has some accessory structures on a couple of the other lots. Here is the survey. I'm going to zoom in here so that you can see, important to note that the existing structure is very close to this rear and side property line. As part of this request, in addition to raising the structure to address flooding in the in this area, which, you know, this is again Washington and Charlotte, so we do receive even sunny day tidal flooding in this area. Part of the reason for the variance is because they will be moving the structure kind of further into the site and further forward to get it a little further away from those adjacent buildings. So I think that's important to note regarding what they are proposing to do. You can see here the ADU that's the subject of this in the rear of the property. Again, right now it looks very, very small. It will look bigger in the proposal. Some more just aerials or street views of the area surrounding the subject property. Here you can see it sort of in context with some a mixed use proposal that has been approved elsewhere on the block. And again, kind of that intensification of the block, as well as this kind of seeding that project will do of kind of trying to maintain some of these historic Charleston singles on the block. So again, here you can see the plan with a little bit more detail in terms of that existing nearness to the adjacent property. And then you can see on the proposal, again, they're moving that back, so that's not quite as close. I mean, it's again, let's be honest, it's a difference of 1.5 feet or so to hit to the 3 foot there, squaring it off on this side. Still somewhat narrow setback on that side. The encroachment to allow this staircase, again, so that it can access the ADU with the elevation that I'll show in a minute when we get to the elevations, or the elevating it, which I'll show in the elevations. Obviously, they can't just walk in as they do now. They would need to create some stairs And given somewhat the unique nature here, and the fact that this is internal to the site, staff is supportive of that request there. You can see the both the primary building, kind of its configuration and some work that they're doing there, although again, none of that is subject to this request, but it's a part of the overall development update, if you would, that they're proposing for the property, as well as the updated floor plan. Again, this would maintain in the ADU, it would maintain it as a one floor, one story ADU. But because of FEMA and the fact that it would have a little, I don't even know what you call that, a little loft space, I guess, above. And the height is consistent with the height district and the allowance for an ADU. So all of that is perfectly within reason. But with elevating the structure so that it's outside of the flood zone, it does make this a much more prominent building. It's still set back, consistent with, except for the stair, consistent with the existing ADU essentially. But again, it does become much more a part of that streetscape, and luckily maintains that kind of, not quite, but a little bit in the vein of the Charleston single aesthetic, although I'm sure there's architects in the room that would have more specific language to describe it. Just again, some elevation, different perspectives regarding that elevation. And with that, again, this is elevating an existing structure, continuing to provide it as a residential use. Yes, they're asking for some variances, but the nature of the site and the existing development pattern of the site does create some extreme difficulties with rehabbing it. And so with that, staff is recommending approval of the special exception and the requested variances.
All right, thank you, Robert. Do we have anybody here in opposition to the application for 69 Washington Street? Anybody in opposition? Seeing no one in opposition, do we have the owner or applicant here? All right, Mr. Flynn, anything you'd like to say to the board?
No, sir, unless there are questions.
Thank you, sir. All right, anybody have any questions for Mr. Flynn? Anybody have any questions for the city? All right, any discussion? All right, no questions, no
All right.
discussions.
I do have one question, Robert.
Yes, sir.
Is there, there's no change to the parking requirements or anything like that? I'm just generally curious if they're, looks like they've taken a wall down on the front.
They're not, the same amount of parking spaces will exist on the lot. And we're only proposing to push the ADU about 1.5 feet forward.
Yeah, so they will, their parking requirement is the exact same because everything is non-conforming for parking, but they would continue to have a 26-ish foot area here that they could still park a vehicle on. Again, this stairwell is, our stairway is really the kind of the newer encroachment into that setback, which again, they could never meet given the shallow depth of this lot.
Is the structure closest to it, is that a residence?
I'll let the architect.
I'm the architect and I own the structure next to it. It's my office. And currently, there's not enough room even to put gutters on the ADU. So I'm just proposing to scoot it up enough to where we can get a human back to put the new siding on and put a gutter on it. So that's the sole reason for. Right now, it has an air conditioner that actually extends onto my property. So if we can scoot it over a 1.5 feet,
Okay,
that would help.
thank you.
Any further questions?
Make a motion for approval.
All right, Mr. Bennett moves to approve. Is there a second? Mr. McKay seconds the motion. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None are opposed. The motion passes. And the special exception and the variance is for 69 Washington Street are granted. Thank you very much. All All right, the next item on our agenda is B8 227A Rutledge Avenue, Cannonboro, Elliottboro, Council District 6, EMS number 460-11-02-009, zoned LB, requesting a use variance from section 54-203 to allow on-premises beer and wine consumption as part of a retail use with hours of operation Monday through Saturday, 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Sunday, 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. The owner is Aaron Rowland. The applicant is Amy Briere. Mr. Summerfield.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, so this property is located essentially at the corner of Spring Street and Rutledge Avenue. You can see here in the zoning map that it is again, just kind of right behind the structures there that kind of border Rutledge to Spring and faces, to be clear, faces on Rutledge. The proposal, this is some additional documentation from the applicant. You can see where the property is in their pictures. They also gave some great street views of the property. They did some research into other cafe slash on-premise locations in the area. You can see here that they are proposing, essentially, they're taking and splitting the ground floor area sort of in half, making the area forward of the store available for this eating and dining. To be clear, the dining is, this is not a full kitchen service kind of thing. This is really that kind of cafe in line with their retail operations as we understand it. And then they would maintain their current retail operations just on a slightly smaller footprint within the store. The hours of operations they're proposing are within the allowance for LB for this particular use. You can see the structure here, or you can see here they did a really nice closing out slide on what exactly they're requesting. And it would be the allowance for basically on-site consumption of food and beer and wine as a part of their operations, where currently they sell beer, wine, and other sundry items. They do have quite a bit of support that was submitted. Many of these letters of support are from folks in the industry, but there are also several from neighboring businesses and property owners, as well as a letter from the Cannonboro-Elliottboro Neighborhood Association, all in support of the proposal. Staff is in support. This is the use variance, so it will require a 2/3 vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Anybody here in opposition to 227A Rutledge Avenue selling beer and wine on premises? It's a very popular application. A lot of support there. Anybody have, well, I guess, owner applicant here?
Yep.
Anything you'd like to say to the board?
I appreciate y'all's consideration.
You're apparently running a very popular little shop over there.
You guys gonna come drink some wine?
Okay. All right, does anybody have any questions for the owner or the applicant or the city? All right, do we have a motion? I make a motion for approval. Okay, moves to approve. Mr. Huey seconds the motion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None are opposed. The motion passes. The use variance for 227A Rutledge Avenue is granted. Thank you very much. All right, the next item on our agenda is deferred. That's Henrietta Street, and we're now to B10, which is a request for reconsideration. B10, 56 Bull Street, Charleston Village, Council District 8, EMS number 457-03-02-031, zone DR1F, requesting reconsideration of a board decision approving a variance from section 54-301 to construct a rear addition bedroom suite with a 10-foot 8-inch rear setback, 25 feet are required. The owner is Kevin Mills. The applicant is Ronald Horn. Mr. Summerfield.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, so this is a request to reconsider a decision that the board made on June 17th. Thank you. On June 17th, to approve a variance, for a rear addition to encroach, into the rear setback. This is property that's at the corner of Smith Street and Bull Street, essentially the corner. You can see the arrow here. The proposed addition would be to the rear of this house. The application is made by the neighbor who did speak at the hearing, and spoke, about his concerns with, approving, the variance to allow the addition. Hopefully everyone has had a chance to read through his application. In it, there are a couple different things that he raises, as points of concern with the, decision of the board, or facts that, they took or did not take in their deliberations. One of those is that in the original submittal, and what was included in the packet, that letter included information with regard to, the, anticipation of the family that owns it moving here, and that the proposed addition was to help facilitate that. We did get clarification during that meeting from the applicant's representative or the owner's representative that, that while they were looking to be here more with this renovation, it was not at this time necessarily, that they were going to be here, full time. So the applicant for this, request for reconsideration does point that out. And then they do take, a position with regard to whether or not the, various requirements of the hardship test were met, and whether the board, considered all of that. And again, you have some detailed, elements of that in the application. This is a request for reconsideration of the board's decision. So the action of the board tonight would not be to overturn that variance. What it would be if the board were to agree with the appellant, then they would be agreeing to rehear the item. The rehearing would come up in the next available, agenda. We would have to publicly notice that. So it would not be eligible to be heard until the second meeting in September, so that we could properly notice it. If the application for reconsideration were to be denied, I do believe that it, would still be available for appeal because of this appeal, and I will look to our legal counsel to correct me, but I believe the appellant could still go through a formal appeal through court.
If the motion to reconsider is denied, then he has an option to appeal to the
Correct.
circuit court. As long as he has standing.
Correct.
That's another issue.
So
Which he probably does as the next door neighbor.
as the neighbor and having spoke during the public comment. So, and made a case. So with that, this is, because this is a request for the board to reconsider its decision, staff does not take a position on whether or not the board erred or missed something. And so we don't have a recommendation. I would point out, we do have legal counsel from our corporation counsel office here and available to advise should the board, request to go into executive session, with regard to any questions that may come up during the course of this hearing.
All right. Thank you, Robert. So the city has no recommendations on the motion to reconsider the approval of the variance for 56 Bull. So,
Correct. I would note, Mr. Chairman, my apologies, that in your public comment packet, you do have one letter of opposition to the appeal that it was submitted by the property owner's representative. And then you have some letters of support for reconsideration.
all right.
They're nuanced, so you have to read through them, but I think there's generally some letters of support for reconsideration.
So, first of all, I'm going to remind the board, we have a standard in section 3 for our reconsideration. That's Article 2, Section 3 of our procedures, and that is to grant the appeal for reconsideration. The board must find that it misapprehended or misconceived the question or questions involved, or that it erred in its finding, disposition of the appeal application or matter. So let's go ahead and hear from the appellants first. So anybody who is in opposition to the variance that was granted and supports the request for reconsideration can speak first. And then we'll hear from anyone opposed to the motion for reconsideration. That would be the owner, I suppose, who wants to preserve the decision and the variance. But first, we'll hear from the appellant and then everybody who is in support of the appellant's position. Thank you, sir. Come on up. And everybody, when you come up, please state your name and address for the record. Thank you.
My name is John Horn. I live at 4 Bull Street. And first off, I want to thank you for this opportunity to address this variance request. I bought my house in 1989. And after you go, I was very involved in rebuilding the city of Charleston, especially Charleston Village. I helped implement an effort with the city to help replant the trees that were destroyed in the storm. I have worked to prohibit post bills on telephone poles and advertising on the size of advertising signs for stores and so on. I've worked for the Gown and Gown Committee to help communicate and address issues with the city, the college, and mostly the neighborhood. Coordinate to have a nice working smooth relationship. I have loved every part of my time in Charleston Village. I do all this because I really care about my home. I really care about the community that surrounds it. I'm here today because I strongly oppose this variance request 56 Bull Street. It doesn't meet the hardship variance, whether intentional or not. The information that was given to me and my neighbors get it from acting in a different manner than we did during the first hearing. I also feel that the approval option, the two options shouldn't have been instrumental in the final decision. It seemed like if variance wasn't approved, then we would get something that would be less desirable. And that seems sort of do this or that to us, or to me anyway. So at any rate, I would like to address one of the concerns that I have that I actually know something about, and that would be how it is a detriment to my property. As I stated, I live right next door to 56 Bull Street. There is no setback between 56 Bull Street and my house. Their driveway, even my driveway, is where the house is. I think you can see this. This is it. It goes all the way down. This addition would pretty much make my few pictures you can see there inside my house. All I would be seeing would be their siding and their roof. My sideline would be down to 90% looking at their house. I would have about 10 feet in the very end corner of my house, the very end corner. That's where I would be able to have some air and light. Otherwise, my air and light would be restricted. That's pretty important to me. I'd also be concerned with the loss of green space. I would be concerned with my property value. Told by numerous real estate people that my property value would be decreased, and so would be my potential to resell if I ever decided to leave, which I don't really intend to do right now. Drainage would of course be a concern when this property was redone a few years ago. That they had a lot of soil to the backyard, so it's already built up a little bit more than I would like it to be. There'd also be an increased lack of privacy for me. 56 Bull Street has had its living room changed already. The living room is now a bedroom, 931 square feet. It's advertised as a 3-bedroom, 2-bath to accommodate 6 people and 931 square feet. When I had, that's rental, it had a 3-person limit on it, so there's an issue there. The property will continue to be a monthly rental income with the extra bedrooms that to accommodate more people, probably more parking issues. Obviously, that would affect me, my neighbor Dan in the back, and the other people in the neighborhood. It also seems to me, just as importantly, if not more so, that any change to the Denmark BZA has that's not aligned with Charleston's history, our history with preservation and caring about the past, is not in line with what I remember. It's preferred that any addition to historic property not touch the asset, in this variance would have it touching the asset. So that's one thing I'm very, very concerned with. I also know besides the house, the lot, historical designation were known by the people that bought the property before they purchased it. And I know there are other options. I know this house has been like this for a couple hundred years, and I just don't understand the urgency to change it for someone visiting to accommodate their visit or whatever. So anyway, thank you. I have some other people who might want to speak. But thank you again for letting me speak.
I have a quick
Yes.
question for you while you're here, and I hear what you're saying. What was I think you said in your application that you received some information that turned out to be incorrect.
Well, there were 2 variance requests, and that's one I based it on. That's one we showed people and so on. And I had a lot of, no one that I knew was really excited about this. And I said, look, there's a family coming in. This will be our only chance probably to get a family come in. They're making a lot of money on this thing. They sell it again, it'll be to someone who makes some more money. And they said, okay, because people trust me. And I said, okay, and I really have felt terrible about it. That's one reason I did this on my own. So I had some people that really care about the community, whether they live there right now or not, have been gentrified out or whatever. And this is a big landmark. I have people that, some people might, they come to see it. They're in my driveway all the time. And I just love the place. That's why I'm here.
Okay. And so the key piece of information that you,
Was that they were going to be moving full-time, as a full-time,
that would be their primary residence.
Primary
and it turns
residence.
out that it is
and
not.
I didn't find this out to the meeting. And then I listened to the thing after the meeting. I said, oh my heavens. And I felt like I shot myself in the foot.
Understood.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, who else wishes to speak in support of the request to reconsider?
Hi, thank you for this opportunity. My name is Phil Noble. I live at the corner of Pitt and Bull. I'm the oldest resident of the city, of the neighborhood, and just the neighborhood. And we're very proud of our neighborhood. We started out, it was a rough place, and there were chain link fences and cars in the yard, and it was a tough place. But over the years, our neighborhood has worked together, black and white, supporting the church, supporting each other. And we have a neighborhood we're very proud of. And Ron is the neighborhood watchman who said, these folks want to move in. It's a new family. I think it's a great idea. Sure. So then we found out, with all due respect, they lied, plain and simple, on what they said gave to you. It says they intend to move here full time. If you go online today, VRBO, you can rent for $235 a night. You can go to Zillow and rent for $8,500 a month. You can go to Rentable for $8,000 a month. And then in addition to the lie, there's the insult that they're gonna move here. Mr. Mills advertises himself as the #1 real estate agent in Myrtle Beach, the #1 in the world for Century 21, and I'm sure he is. But he would have us believe he is gonna leave his multi-million-dollar mansion in Myrtle Beach and come and live with his family in less than 1,000 square feet. When the neighbors learned this, they responded. 42 of the neighbors signed a petition saying no. Not a single person in the neighborhood refused to sign. Then the church, all 30 members of the church across the street said no. They lied to us. And it's very simple. It's very simple. Are you going to support someone who lies to the neighborhood, lies to the community? Or are you going to support a neighborhood that is essentially one of the great neighborhoods of Charleston, of people who love and care about our neighbors? That's your choice. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Noble. Appreciate that. Anybody else in support of the appeal? The request for reconsideration? Yes, sir.
Good evening. Reverend Anthony B. Thompson. I'm retired from Holy Trinity Reformed Episcopal Church just this past summer. But I'm still pastor emeritus and a member. And basically, our concern is of a historical significance. As you know, 51 Bow Street is a former home of Denmark Vesey. And we know it's a national historical landmark. And basically that's our concern. I've taught lessons from that house in reference to the historical significance in the Black community of Charleston, South Carolina. And even our church being a historical landmark, we've tried to follow very closely the guidelines of your board to make sure that we are in coherence as well. And so we believe that the present character of the district will not be protected nor enhanced due to the fact that this house has already been designated as a National Historical Landmark. And any attached addition will lessen the character of the house, its period of significance being 1800 to 1824, therefore lessening its historical significance as a related collection of the National Registry of Historical Places. 56 Bow Street, former home, I said, of Denmark Vesey, a free man, whom abolitionists during this time viewed him as a martyr, and of course the African American community viewed him as a hero for freedom. And like other houses that we have in Charleston that have historical significance, for example, we have the Nathaniel Russell House at 51 Union Street. We have the Aiken Red House at 48 Elizabeth Street. To my knowledge, never any additions, but a lot of renovations, which is good. And the historical significance of each of these houses is defined by its period of significance. It is defined by its period of significance in the interior and exterior of the structure in each building, and the families who occupied these houses, with the enslaved people who maintained the house, toiled in the work of the yard, the gardens. All of this is for tourists. And so the historical significance of the Denmark Vesey House is also defined by the same characters, defined by a period of significance, which I expressed in 1800, 1824, and the fact that a freed man viewed as a hero and martyr of freedom resided there. So therefore, it should be protected as the other historical landmarks. No additions, maybe renovations, but no additions. And if I'm not mistaken, there is maybe a code of federal regulations that it comes under, such as the, former home of Denmark Vesey. I think it should be adhered to as stipulated. And in conclusion, I know our Preservation Society, I don't know if they're here today or not, but normally they always seemingly are concerned about historical preservation of Charleston homes, especially in the Halston area. And really would like to know if they had anything to say about it in their recommendation. But thank you for your time and for your consideration.
Thank you, Reverend Thompson. Appreciate it. All right, who else wishes to speak? Yes, sir. Come on up, please.
My name is Alfonso Brown, and I'm a certified tour guide for the city of Charleston ever since 1985. And for the past 40 years, Denmark BZA-Z has become a major topic on my tour. And when I take people by his house, it's one of the most photographed sites on the tour, second to Philip Simmons house on Blake Street. But it's much of a photograph site. There's a mark on the house, in front of the house, denoting that it's a part of the National Historic Register. It's on the home of the National Registry of Homes in America, in front of the house. It wasn't always up in front. The last time they renovated the house, they placed the mark on the front of the house. And like I said, it is the most photographed site, second to Philip Simmons house on Blake Street in Charleston. It has become a landmark and should remain as original as possible.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Yes.
Hi, good evening. My name is Ruth Drucker and I live at 42 Bull Street, so just a couple of doors down from this home. I'd like to speak first to the procedural issue, which you pointed out regarding whether or not you should move for this motion for reconsideration. When I initially saw the request for the zoning variance, I went to your website, I reviewed all the information that was submitted to the website. I saw that the applicants were intending to occupy the home full time. At that point, I said, fantastic, I'd love to see another home occupied full time on our block. And I certainly do not want to interfere with someone's ability to make the home most useful for them as a family. I live at 42 with my two sons who are now at college, but I renovated that home and I was able to make it into a home that worked for my family. However, I believe I detrimentally relied upon the information that was submitted at that time for the initial hearing, because what I saw was the paperwork that indicated that the applicant was intending to live in the home full time. I came to learn afterwards during the course of that meeting, which I did not attend, so I neither supported nor opposed the application for the zoning variance based upon the information that was submitted to the board. I did not appear for the meeting because I assumed that the applicant was going to be moving into the home full time. They were going to be making this addition to the home in order to suit their needs. And I then thereafter became aware of the fact that the applicant is not intending to live in the home full time. And to me, it seems is perhaps making this application in order to make the property more marketable. So in terms of your initial, the issue that you have primarily to concern yourself with this evening as to whether or not you'll be reconsidering this motion, I would hope that you would do that, because I am indicating to you right now that I detrimentally relied on the information that was provided to this hearing board. And I would assume the other neighbors may have done the same and therefore would not have voiced their opposition or support of this application. More substantively, and I'm certain if you do grant the motion for reconsideration, we'll have the opportunity to speak to this again, but I will take this time to, speak to my concerns as well. If you look at your 4-prong test, which I know you all took into consideration, and there are things that certainly I would defer to. I would defer to Mr. Horn as to whether or not he's, negatively impacted as the adjacent property owner. I think the issues regarding whether or not this is a unique property, whether it has significant, historical significance, obviously that's something for you all to decide. Others have spoken to those issues. My primary concern is your prong number 3 in that test, which is whether or not the homeowner is going to be effectively prohibited or unreasonably restricted in the use of the property. And I would submit to you all this evening that that is actually inaccurate. The property is currently in use. It has been rented regularly. I walk by all the time because I walk in my neighborhood regularly, and the home has been occupied. Whether or not you agree with 30-day rentals, personally, I don't like it. We have 3 just on our block alone. I take no issue with anyone who wants to rent their property whatsoever, because we have plenty of renters in our neighborhood. We have plenty of college students. We have plenty of young professionals. There's nothing wrong with renting, but obviously there's a distinction between a 30-day rental and a long-term rental, and what those individuals add sort of to the fabric of our community. But I would submit to you that the applicant has not fulfilled that third prong of your test for whether or not they meet the zoning variance requirement, because they are not being prohibited from use of this property. It is being used regularly. It is very clearly marketed as a spacious 3-bedroom, 2-bath rental. So I would assert that this is not something that is in any way prohibiting, and that they therefore are not meeting that third prong of your 4-prong criteria for the zoning variance. So I appreciate all of you taking this under consideration and determining whether or not the community should be able to speak to this again with all of the full information and the accurate data regarding how and when the home will be occupied. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Drucker. Appreciate your comments. Anybody else in support of the appeal? Okay, so do we have the owner or representatives of the owner?
Good evening. I'm Julia Martin, representing owners of this property, Kevin and Kaylee Mills, who are here tonight. I'm a little bit upset because it has been contended that I lied, and I'm representing this project and representing our clients, and that is not the case. I had extensive conversations with what we believed were the 2 most concerned and effective neighbors, which should be Mr. Horn at 54 and Mr. Dan Raggi at number 70 Smith, which is directly to the north. And the north setback line is the one that we're considering here. In no case have we ever proposed anything that would encroach on the east side setback adjacent to Mr. Horn. So yeah, I was surprised to hear that Mr. Horner decided to appeal the board's decision, and even more surprised to learn that he went about soliciting endorsements from countless neighbors and even members of the nearby church. None of those parties were moved to oppose our initial application, and had our request been relevant to the neighborhood at large, we would have reached out to the neighborhood association ourselves. I've been working professionally in this town for 20 years and presenting at this board, served on the Board of Architectural Review for 10 years approximately. And so to contend that A, that I would misrepresent something intentionally, or B, that I would be insensitive to preservation concerns, just really gets to me. So I think one thing that was not really highlighted either until now today or at the previous hearing is the position and the preference of Mr. Raggi, who owns the property to the north. He submitted a letter and it made it very clear that he would prefer the greater setback adjacent to his property, which required granting of the variance that we requested. So I think, I just don't believe that was factored in. I know Mr. Horn didn't mention it, but I think that is really germane to the whole situation and scenario, and it's part of why we were comfortable bringing this request to you, along with the fact that we had talked to Mr. Horn at length. And when it came to light that I was under the misunderstanding that my clients would be moving here full time, it was just a miscommunication. They explained that they do want to live here a whole lot more, but they never live anywhere permanently. They're people who have things going on and they spend 3 months here, 6 months there, but this is an important property to them. But when it became clear that I was under a misunderstanding, I reached back out to Mr. Horn, I reached back out to Mr. Ruggie, and I amended our narrative in the city's files, and I let the staff know that I just wanted to make that clarification. They're not saying they're gonna live here all the time, but they want to live here a lot more. And in order to do so, they need another bedroom. So, let me see if there's anything else that's really important for me to ramble out to you. I noticed the neighborhood association, you know, I read all the comments from the public, all of which I think were based on some, you know, not very flattering portraits that had been painted of my clients. And I'll let Kevin Mills speak on his own behalf. But in terms of the fourth prong of the variance test, which the neighborhood association had a little issue saying had been addressed, it's not reasonable to argue that the addition of a one-story bedroom suite at the rear of 56 Bull will cause substantial detriment to the property at 54 Bull. And in fact, in theory, a future owner of 54 Bull might actually appreciate the enhanced privacy afforded by this very typical rear addition, which fully respects the tradition of quiet rear additions and north side manners. The character of the Denmark-Macy house will not be affected because the Denmark-Macy house has already had subsequent additions added to it, and we are not in any way or form touching the original structure.
When was the last edition?
I think the last edition, Aaron, help me out here.
But we're not even.
In the seventies, prior to it being designated as a registered historical landmark, correct?
I.
Because that happened recently. I used to live in Charleston Village, so I know.
But it happened.
When I lived on Bennett Street, it was not yet on the register.
It's been stated then by the National Register that he did not actually live there. But I would have to look at maps to determine exactly when all the additions were done. There were multiple additions.
So are you contending that it's not historically significant?
No,
Is that
and
part of
in
it?
fact, that's
Okay.
part of the reason that we want to do it.
I'm not understanding comment that you just made.
I'm Erin Lanier. I work with Henry Martin Architects. I'm simply countering the notion that we are somehow destroying some, extra important piece of Charleston's history. We are being, deferential to this historic building, but we are not destroying an important figure's home.
Okay.
And it is precisely because of my sensitivity, my office's sensitivity to preservation concerns that we effectively lobbied our clients not to pursue the notion of a detached bedroom, which is allowed by the ordinance, because we wanted to do something quiet and low and deferential that would follow preservation tenets. And, I consulted with VAR staff. They do not make habit of sharing their opinions with this board, and I completely understand that, but I can tell you that they understood our reasoning, and it is sincere to do something that works for this family and that follows the tenets of preservation. And I hope you saw that I resubmitted all of our responses to the hardship test. We submitted drawings, the narrative of how we communicated, how we did all of our due diligence to explain our reasoning and make sure everyone was happy. We even, offered to remove a little window on the east side to help Mr. Horn with his privacy concerns or whatever it was. We had good conversations and we ended them with an agreement. And that, I have an email where Mr. Horn accepted that agreement. And there was nothing revealed at the meeting. We had talked about all of that before, and I had updated that little detail in my narrative. So it's just really, really upsetting to be accused of lying and defeating when that was never the case, and much less disrespecting historic properties. Very disturbing. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else in support of the property owner? Yep. State your name and address for the record, please.
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Kevin Mills. I am the owner of the property.
Where do you live?
I live, my full-time residence,
Where do you live?
56 Bull Street is the one I think
You
you're
live,
referring to.
you live on 56?
No, I live in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
2005 Lady Main Drive. Yes, sir. When we bought this home in November of last year, we occupied it the entire month of December. Because that's when the property was vacant. We had to honor a rental from January through May. We had to. Legally obligated as a 90-day rental rule, and to boot them out in the middle of that term was something that we weren't going to do. While living there, I met Mr. Horn. We had an incredible conversation where I shared my intent was this home is too small for my family. We're going to have to add another bedroom. There's not even room for a dining room table into this property. If you go there now and you want to eat, you have to eat on the kitchen or on the living room couch. That's how tight it is in that house right now. So for a family of 4 to live there, it just is not possible. I shared that with him the first time I met with him in the driveway. And so our plan is to do this. When we do this, I want to then come back to you and let you know exactly what we're proposing to do, because I feel like you should be the first one to know, which is exactly what happened. As soon as we submitted that variance and I got with Julia, I made sure that they connected several times. I think they met on at least 2 occasions, spoke for hours at a time. So he fully understood and accepted exactly what we were doing. The misconception of full-time it goes in 2 parts. One, I was the one who made sure that was corrected. My youngest daughter is a professional. She's an amateur surfer that travels all over the country and surfs. I'm not in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina for more than 4 months out of the year because we're traveling around. I love to ski in the wintertime. I'm in Colorado, I'm in Wyoming. And in the summertime, we have to go where there's waves, which means we're in the Outer Banks and we're in Puerto Rico. So when I say full-time, I mean, that is going to be my residence for more than 6 months out of the year. I will be spending the night there. That was never my intention. And I wanted to get that corrected before this hearing because I believe in being very transparent with everyone so everybody can make the best decision. I completely respect this process. And I love the fact that everybody came here to give their concerns. I think it's one of the best things about this community. My wife went to school at the College of Charleston. I've been visiting Charleston since I was a little kid, and I've always wanted a house here, and I've always wanted my kids to experience Charleston. That's the reason we bought this. This was not a rental investment for us. You can see through property records, I paid almost $1.5 million for this home. I then put another $72,000 in it since I bought it last year. It's renting out for $5,000 a month. If you calculated return, I'm losing approximately 2% on my investment every single year holding it, probably -7%. If you add another bedroom and include that rental, I'm still losing money holding it as an investment. This was never set out to be an investment for me. I never wanted it to be an investment. And a falsity of this is going to continue to be a rental after the 4th bedroom was completely made up. I never said that. But that is the case that's been presented to every neighbor, the people at the church, is that this is just a rental giant. The words used by others that I've interviewed that signed that docket said that they're money hungry. They want to destroy the property values in this neighborhood. I love this neighborhood. The entire month of December that we lived there, my family and I walked it miles a day, enriched in the culture. We absolutely loved it. We just installed a $3,000 porch swing on the front porch today, just because we want to spend more time here and we want to spend more time out front. We just need to make this property doable for us. To address a couple points that were said here today, and I want to address a few more and then I'll be done. One, it will not continue to be a rental if this variance is granted. We do not plan to rent this out at all. We plan on occupying it, if not our full-time residence for a majority of the year, but not renting it out. It would just be vacant. So I just wanted to do that. I know everybody here said how much they love the place and they love the neighborhood. And I understand that their tenure there is a lot longer than mine. I also love it. That's why I invested the money that I did. And that's why I'm here with my family. We've been here twice to just share that I really care about this area. I think I can be a great neighbor. I've served on multiple boards in Horry County where I stand for similar things. And I've been in this building several times, getting to the Gilliard and Make-A-Wish here. I love this area. So that's another thing that I wanted to say. Another thing that Mr. Horn said is that he didn't know beforehand that we weren't going to be occupying this full time. I made sure that Julie and him had that conversation on several accounts. After Mr. Horn filed the reevaluation while we're here today, I called and left 2 voicemails for him, which he never responded to make sure that my point was getting and making sure that there wasn't any more compromise that I could give. Because the only reason he met with Julie on the accounts that he did is because I wanted to compromise. And I compromised several things on that design for him, eliminating windows, blocking different things, moving around different parts of the back structure just to accommodate him. One person said you can't rent that, it's advertised for a nightly rent. You can't do that. I think you guys already know that. Another point that you made was regarding my real estate team. We own Expert Advisors in Charleston as well. It's a real estate company that we own, and we're expanding our insurance agency down here, insurance or integrated insurance solutions. So my job, my position, my team, my company did not dictate me being there. It's why I travel so much. I have a great C-suite that leads that company, although I have been the face of it. That does not mean that I need to be in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and I haven't been there for over half of this year. Someone referenced that I lived in a mansion. I bought my house in 2015 for $241,000. It's 1,631 square feet. I still live there today. I can just take 2 more points. The petition that was signed by all the neighbors said that the reason I was making the addition was to accommodate more people. That's not the issue. I'm not accommodating anybody more. So give my family space so we can actually use it as a home and I can work out of it. Right now, there is no room for anything. Said that I'm altering the structure. I'm not altering the structure. I understand that it will be touching the structure through a roof addition, but the structure itself will not be altered one bit. Multiple times it didn't mention that I'm an out-of-town owner. I've probably been in Charleston, South Carolina more than I've been in Myrtle Beach for the last year, running Expert Advisors and another insurance company that we're bringing into town. I just want to reference, I'm not an out-of-town owner. And that being referenced several times in those petitions that were signed is just an untrue statement. It says it's going to be resulting in increased rental income. I just wanted to put it out there as well that this is not going to be a rental property for us if this is accepted. All signature is full of full-time residents. I only spoke to I spoke to 2 residents that signed that petition because I wanted a better idea of if they knew what they actually signed. One of which was a part-time college student that lives right next door at 58 Bull Street. They are not all full-time residents, or that would have been true. If I can make 3 more points, I know I'm going long. I appreciate all of your attentiveness on this, but I just really want to make these points, especially because I wasn't here at the last one. Every house that borders this property is a rental property. Ron rents the front of his house to somebody out full time. The back neighbor rents part of his property out. The neighbor to the left of me rents out both of their properties. I'm not trying to use this as a rental, but it's being thrown so much in my face, the fact that it's currently being occupied as a rental. I just want to put out there that every single property, including the person who is opposing this, uses his property as a rental property. I brought up the financial. I would also say that I've done my best to make sure that this property is one of, if not the best maintained property in that area. I have a botanist that goes by 1 time a week for a property that I'm not staying in. We have yard care that goes by. We've had the house pressure washed 2 times. We've replaced windows and have the flowers replaced 3 times a month. I am doing everything I can to make sure that I keep the integrity of that property, knowing that people take photos of it, knowing that they appreciate it. And I love that I own that property. I'm investing a ton of money into maintaining it while I'm not there because I do plan on keeping it on the upswing. 3 things. I won't go into the details, but I did make notes, times and date stamped all. I called 3 people that were on that list that signed that signature. Out of those 3 people, each of them said, I was out of towners, I was non-occupant, trying to bring down the value of our neighborhood, filling it with tenants who are going to party and demean the neighborhood. There will not be room for everybody to park. They will lose their parking and they will have to walk farther to their house if they even do get a parking spot. Money hungry was a word that came up twice. Trying to destroy property value of homes came up once. Altering the structure into more and not keeping the integrity that Denmark Betsy bought. That is not my intent. When that's pitched to neighbors and churchgoers, of course they are going to sign it. If anybody came to me and said falsified information and made something sound absolutely atrocious, I would sign it. If they said they're bringing down my property values, they're renting it out to partiers, they're not taking care of the property, they don't care about historical significance, sign this, then I'm going to do it 10 times out of 10. These people have no clue what my story is. I've never spoken to Ron other than the first time that I met him. He hasn't answered any of my calls when I've tried calling him. I've made sure that him and Julia spoke several times before the meeting. I've done nothing but try to be a really good neighbor. If anyone would have reached out to me, I would have shared exactly what my intent was. I've never hid anything. And as you figured out, by Googling my name, my cell phone number pops up first. It's very easy to get a hold of me. So I just wanted to make the case is that the picture that is being painted is not the true and accurate picture. My family is here. We want to occupy this property. This is a horrible investment. I'm not trying to use it as an investment property. I'm trying to use this as a residence for my family to enjoy when we do want to enjoy it, and we're not traveling around the world on it. And one thing I'd like to say, Mr. Tibbles, because I found that you got pretty offended over the Denmark Betsy comment, which I can understand. I could just see it. It seemed like it riled you in the wrong way. The first time that I met Ron next door and I told him how proud I was to own this house, he told me, you do know Denmark Betsy never lived here, right? It did not destroy anything to me. I love the significance of it. I love that plaque. The first picture I took when I saw the property. I think it stands for so much, and I'm not trying to ruin that. I just want to let you know that it does not go beneath me. It does not make me feel any different way about the property. I understand, and I'm out there trying to preserve it. Unlike most of the properties that are in that immediate area that are continued to getting run down, and they are not being upheld to a really high quality standard, at least that I see when I go there. And I went by today and walked away. So that's all I'd like to say, and I really appreciate it. I know I went really long. Thank you.
You're good. Thank you, Mr. Mills. We've heard longer. All right, anybody else in support of the original variance that was granted? If not, we can get a rebuttal from somebody if they like.
I'd like to say a couple of things if I could, but first off, I never gave that impression to anyone when I was taking the petition. Never did. Never said anything about party people or anything like that. There's the renters have never been fine. I have no problem with someone reading the thing. I've never said any of that stuff to discourage you or the people. So I don't know where that came from. Really don't. That's ridiculous. And I had a phone call from someone who said that they had called about the petition people and said that you've been living there full time and I haven't seen you yet. You told the people you've been living there full time. It's the first 3 months you've been living there. I haven't seen any of you there. This is a smoke and mirror here thing. I don't talk about people, and I never said that Denmark Betsy never lived there either. That's the first thing that you talked to me about is you asked me where the good restaurants were and I mean.
Okay.
I mean,
Mr. Horn, let's address the comments to the board.
Excuse me, I just
Yeah.
my name.
I
But
understand.
if the place is still being advertised, so I don't understand that, and I've never seen it advertised for 5,000. There might be some cost implied in that. Initially, I live in a Freedman's home myself. I haven't changed a thing. I have to walk through my son's bedroom to go to the bathroom because of the layout. So I've felt the stewardship of being lucky enough to live in Charleston, and I just want everyone else to do the same.
All right, thank you, Mr. Horn. So we do have counsel here, although I don't know if it's necessary. You guys want to discuss? Do you have any questions for the appellant or the city?
Is this a time to discuss particulars, or is that the next? If we granted the appeal, would that be the next?
I think the merits of the request for the merits of the variance request would need to be handled if we grant the motion to reconsider. Then I think we will have a full discussion of whether or not the application meets the variance test or not. And it sounds like everybody will have an opportunity to weigh in with a better understanding of the full set of applicable facts. So the question is whether to reconvene and rehear it. And I think that what we've heard would be sufficient grounds under our rules to grant the reconsideration just based upon what I've heard. Mr. Goodwin, you looking at me, you have something to say? You got a comment or something?
I did have a question about Historic Charleston. Did we receive anything from Historic Charleston? I don't recall.
We did preservation.
I believe we received a letter from Preservation Society. I don't believe we received anything from Historic Charleston. As was mentioned, though, again, this was for the variance, the actual architecture and what have you, the actual preservation of the house in terms of what was being potentially affected by the proposed addition, all of that would be at the BAR. And so that is more likely where you would see HCF weigh in, although they, often feel free to weigh in at these. My anticipation would be that they would be much more eagle-eyed on the Board of Architectural Review process than necessarily this rear yard setback request that was before this board.
And I'm happy to entertain a motion for executive session if somebody feels like it's useful. I don't want to discourage anybody from doing that. We do have counsel for the city who's spending her valuable time here tonight with us. So if you feel like you need it or want it, do it. If you feel like we'll make a motion, get out of here, we can do that too.
I make a motion for executive session.
Okay, all right. So we've got Mr. McKay has moved to go into executive session. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, Mr. Bennett seconds the motion. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. We're in executive session. We're going to receive advice from counsel. We'll be back.
He just want to leave everything.
So. Next time, I'm not ready. You can't grow up.
As long as you feel those people. Or is one of those. Yeah, I stay on. So I still go travel speaking.
I haven't read Kevin Sachs' book yet. I was gone.
That was his address.
And I know Kevin, I knew him beforehand, I'm from another project. And I'm sure it's really good, I'm sure it's good.
Yeah, he's doing a lot of pull out himself. Holy that book.
Yeah.
I haven't read it. Just I thought that too. Yeah, fellas for the still humanitarian
That might be evidence
events.
that it didn't exist.
But we really didn't get a chance to kind of hang out.
He's a good guy.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. His foundation still. Big back Ron.
We're in 107 countries.
I got another run.
We're in 107 countries. We are, we're gonna go, as soon as they quit killing each other, we're going into Gaza. We've, David Beach, he was the governor of South Carolina.
Yeah.
And then he was head of the World Food Program, where they won a Nobel Peace Prize. And he's our chairman.
Wow. Great.
Yeah, so we're just going nuts. We got big plans and it's working,
Good. Was it this young lady that used to live by the church, has she been involved? Remember how this is able to be years ago? She was living next door. Church.
Which side was that?
On the side.
Facing the church, you're on the left.
On that.
Yeah, I don't know, that was rental property. All that while they were watching, rental property.
Okay. That was a young lady who lived there, but she got involved with children.
Yeah, now that you say that, I think she did come over and sort of volunteer and help out, and, that sort of, but we now got, we're sort of three parts, we're one in here, we have another in Ghana in West Africa, and then we got a third in Dubai. Yeah, we are, and, it's going great, and to watch those kids connect with other kids around the world, it's just magic.
Smile. I love it.
And what we're working on now, which is really interesting, is with AI, you can do real-time simultaneous translation. So you may speak in French, and somebody else hears it in their native language of Chinese, and they answer you in Chinese, and you hear it in French. That's a big, that's communication, that's a big deal. And, you know, we got big plans for our stated goal is we want to connect 25 million teachers and 1 billion kids. And we're all,
well in your way.
we're well,
Yeah.
we're well on our way. Kids are busy, anyway.
I'm sure that's, I know. When I'm passing by, I'll look, see if, there's or something, I'll see if you're on the porch.
Well, if
Yeah.
I'm now spending about half
Okay.
out of the country. But come knock on the door if I'm there or my wife, she's, you know, she's there all the time. It was very eloquent.
Yeah, it was. I really enjoyed it. Yes. I meet you too.
Yeah, it's a group call. Okay, all right.
Okay.
I know,
Yeah.
I wonder if I can myself as well. Because I see everything coming and going, but I.
Yeah.
So, good to meet you.
Yeah. Go see something.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, sure.
I'm gonna leave.
All right, man.
Okay.
Thank you. And you come by.
I will give you a call with.
All right.
Hang on a little bit before you go outside.
Yeah. And
Thank you. Good to see you. Thank you so much.
My wife has been talking to you. Oh, okay, right.
Yeah. I think it's gonna happen.
Your friends come to the juices.
Good to see you. I'll do it. I didn't.
Thank you for that.
Because what happened?
You made it very happy.
We had a.
And you know what?
I know, I think it looks great.
Oh, gosh. I'm lost. It's a lot of COVID. You never really got that.
Yeah, no,
I'll let you know, because I retired.
issues about them, well, past that. Once every 30 years.
I'm not out of town.
Once every 45 college. I did work, I guess.
But tell me about your organization, because I know you always said that you were traveling.
Yeah, it's called World Class Scholars.
Okay.
And we connect kids around the world in real time online exchange. Where it's whatever there really two parts. One is just kids meeting other kids around the world, get to know who they are, and they work on projects together. It's sort of
Like school projects?
yeah, it's school based. We're in about I think 107 countries. And we've got all these AI components coming in. Yeah, the language that's just
Tell me again.
world class scholar. It's sort of a, and we're getting ready to. We're in the process of the next generation, building the next generation of science. Incorporate a lot of AI. Microsoft is that.
And then it just it cuts me off after about.
Microsoft is our mother, our father, our enemy, our lover, our best friend.
Everything.
Sometimes all in the same day. And we came out from that, came out here, came out of college. We've got operation in West Africa and Ghana. Got another. Our biggest operation is in Dubai.
Okay, yeah. Is that when you're spending your time?
A lot of it.
We were there last year, 2 years ago. We really enjoyed it.
It's a strange place.
Dubai is a very strange place. We really enjoyed Abu Dhabi though. Do you ever? Yeah, I like the more it's with you know, more like the cultural setting. That's really they were at the Louvre there. It was before the new. I know they opened their. Yeah, there's a history museum that was opening.
Yeah.
That was not open yet when we were there, because that was not this past December before, so December 23. We really enjoyed it. Yeah, I would go back to Abu Dhabi. I don't feel. Visit Dubai again.
Well, the way I describe it, Abu Dhabi is New York. Dubai is LA.
That's good. That's right. That's the next.
And,
I think 750.
but it's a very unusual place and I.
They were-
It's been a bit third of my time, but it's been downward.
Okay, yeah.
And, we're opening up in China, India.
Are you in India?
Yeah.
You know, this is awful sad. We are in China. I don't. Our strategy. The thing started. I used to write columns for state press, and I wrote a piece about how to make Charleston, South Carolina, world class and global. And George Benson, when he was head of college, saw it and passed it around. What are we gonna do? So we did this little thing called Envision South Carolina, and one of the commitments was, well, you connect schools. I had worked back in early. No, I used to be in politics, and then I was working for the BBC out of London, and that's where and so.
You got three numbers.
Anyway, so we started in South Carolina. We were in about 100 schools and 25 countries. And I thought, great escape. We got this figured out. And that's when we ended up at Expo 2020, the world's fair. Oh, they're probably. Well, we had 40, 50 booths at the time, and probably 5 or something. Yeah.
You're good to go. So that was a win for everybody, I think.
They'll tell.
Okay.
Need a motion from out of executives.
Yeah. All right, we need a motion to exit executive session.
Make a motion to leave executive session.
All right, is there a second? Ms. Richard seconds the motion to come out of executive session made by Mr. Bennett. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None are opposed. We're out of executive session. No action was taken, no decision was made. I do, as I stated before we went into executive session, I think I've heard enough for me personally to understand that there's information that whether it was supplied to the city or the BZA prior to the hearing, certainly it doesn't seem to have been communicated to all the neighbors and the neighborhood association that may have had a different impact on them, and it may have chilled their response in terms of the factors, including the character of the district, which is a factor in the variance test, and therefore I think there are as a result, the board may have erred, and so we are in a position where I think there are adequate grounds for reconsideration, but I can't make a motion. I can just sort of recite what my feelings are on it, so. Anybody else have any discussion? Anybody else want to say anything? No, I wasn't here. First one.
I make a motion to move to grant request for reconsideration.
All right, so that's a motion to approve and grant the request to reconsider. That is not an action on the underlying variance. That would be taken at a new hearing on the variance with full information that would be available to everybody in the neighborhood and have the board revisit the 4 elements of the variance test and determine whether or not this property meets it. So there's no prejudice to the owner at this point in time. It would just be reheard. Is there a second? All right, Ms. Graff seconds the motion. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Nobody opposed. The motion passes and the reconsideration request is granted. So we'll rehear the variance at the time that we put on the schedule.
So, Mr. Chairman, so with that, just procedurally for everyone in the room, I guess. So this would be a new hearing. There will not be a new fee, but we will need a new application submitted, updated information. We treat it as if it is a new application, when it comes for, that rehearing. I'm going to look to our legal counsel. I don't believe this action can be appealed. Or can it? I want to be clear with everybody about what.
We don't have a final decision, so we'll hear this de novo. I don't think this can be appealed.
That's what I thought. I like that. See, this why keep a lawyer, Andy, like, so that is our next step, would be to come back to this board for basically a new hearing on the request for the variance. Obviously the next, because we do have to post that, we have to do whatever our next submittal date, which I believe is for the meeting in the middle of September. So that should be next Friday, I think, should be the submittal date if you all would like to meet that hearing. And obviously we can have conversation offline about getting everything in. And as I said, there's no fee for that because it's a board action to rehear the item. With that, Mr. Chairman, if I may just have one moment before we adjourn, to take care of a housekeeping item. Unfortunately, we had a issue with our newspaper notification. Again, were not able to publish the August 19th legal ad for the new applications that would be scheduled for that hearing date. As a result, the meeting on August 19th will proceed as scheduled. However, we will only be able to hear items that had previously been deferred by the board. So we will publish an agenda relatively soon with regard to what will be on that agenda. We are working with the board and the space to try to reschedule a special meeting of the BZA-Z so that they can hear those items that were originally intended for those new items that were originally intended for the August 19th meeting. However, we got to meet the meeting requirements of 15 days advance notice for the print edition of the paper. It's important for everybody to know, apparently the paper has gone to non-print days and print days, and we can only do our legal ads on print days that don't end in Sunday because Sunday is super expensive day. And so we have to do them Saturday, Friday, or Thursday, essentially. So at any rate, please bear with us. We will be getting those. We'll be working with the board, but for the purposes of the record, on the August 19th agenda, it will only be items that had previously been deferred on previous agendas of this board, up to and including the 3 items that were deferred this evening could potentially be on that agenda. We will finalize that agenda and get it published soon. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just needed to make that for the record.
Yep, thank you.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Was that vote unanimous?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, we'll see you again soon.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, so who did we get? So I was gone, so it's just.
Yeah, actually, I'm about to talk to them.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Wait,
Um,
you didn't ask for a pen today.
Thank you.
I didn't have one then.
Oh, but he didn't have one. Oh. Oh, I was trying to congratulate you.
I'm sorry, I didn't get back with you, email, sorry, I didn't get back with you on your email, but, I can't really discuss. Issues outside of the meeting. Okay, thanks.
All right, good job.
Get me 11 minutes, you want to come out?
Oh, so we spoke,